Hey guys, before we dive into the show, I wanted to tell you about the perfect trailer cue blueprint, which is 100% free and you can download it right now over at thetrailermusicschool.com/blueprint. Now, this blueprint will help you to completely understand the structure of trailer music, how to build tracks that will be more licensable and have more impact and capture the right people's attention. So whenever you start writing a cue, make sure you've got this blueprint to hand and you can use it to help speed up your process, feel more confident that you've crafted a well-structured trailer cue before you send it off to that publisher or editor or supervisor. Okay, let's get into the episode. One man with one microphone. Welcome to the Trailer Music Composers Podcast. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Trailer Music Composers Podcast. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Kati Falk-Flores and a fellow award-winning trailer composer in the house. What? Sorry, that's probably like the worst introduction. Okay. Kati, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's so exciting to be here and to talk about trailer music and creativity in general.
Yes, yeah. Okay, I haven't done this for ages, but I'm quite keen to do this. I used to like asking the silly question at the start of the episode,
Yes, yeah.
I used to do this at weddings, what vegetable would you be if you were a vegetable, So let's do that. Let's go with the vegetable. What vegetable would you be if you were going to be a vegetable?
I don't think I've ever been asked this question. Let's see. Vegetable. I feel I'm going to be overthinking this.
Yeah.
And I'm going through favorite vegetables. I'm like, wait, am I really an asparagus?
Just say it. You know it. It's straight away. Okay. One vegetable came to mind. I know it.
It's a carrot. Maybe it's my hair.
Nice. There we go. Although carrots have green hair, surely, right?
That is true. It's the opposite, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Great. Awesome. Carrot. I would probably say broccoli for me. Which, I'm not going for the love-hate thing or, kids hate me. I was just going for the fact that I just love broccoli.
It's a good reason.
Right. Okay. So, Kati, let's dive straight into your earliest creative memory, please.
Ooh, earliest creative memory. Where I was actually creating something or going around singing loudly while the vacuum was on so nobody could hear me. There's kind of two directions we can go there.
Either or, really.
I think I was honestly scared to create my own music, even from a young age. I would do other people's music and sing other people's songs, but the only reason I would create music when I was singing random silly songs with my sisters, trying to sing operatically while we're going around cleaning the house, that kind of thing. But I was honestly scared to create anything for myself for years because I didn't want to be wrong.
Ah, yes.
So we're getting deep already.
No. Oh, mate, I so want to talk about that. But yeah, carry on. Okay,
that's pretty much it. I grew up, writing down film score themes and loving film music because it just resonated with me in a way that classical you get to romantic pieces and I love that, but that especially modern music doesn't necessarily resonate with me. The film score has an emotional component, and that was my drive to start creating and to write down these themes. I did this terrible rendition of, I think, Pippin's theme, Howard Shore, Lord of the Rings, for an audition for theater where I wrote it down just so they knew that I knew how to read music, and then I sang it for the audition. Whew, okay, so maybe not the best idea, but I did get in.
Nice. Okay. Wow, that's loaded. Okay, so I'm going to go back a little bit to the not wanting to get things wrong.
Yes.
Me and Daisy Cool, we had a chat about this when on the podcast about the education system being like, oh, they're just boys. They can do whatever they want. Oh, it's just boys fighting and being silly. And whereas girls are expected to be good and right all the time in the class. I can say this because I used to teach in classroom. And I would fall into that trap accidentally. And I'd be like, damn it, oh, boys will be boys, that type of thing. Do you think that could have been playing into that part there?
Absolutely. I think it was probably multifaceted, but I do think that there's that pressure, or at least there was for me, because I was the good student, and so I couldn't do anything that would go outside of that, you know. And even when I did show maybe signs or skills of going outside of that, I have to say I had a piano teacher who, for whatever reason, she would always say I would memorize pieces incredibly quickly, and that's just because like the music just sticks with me. And she would say, "No, that's just muscle memory. That's just muscle memory." And that was her expectation for me versus the students that she had that were male. They would be on to playing all these popular songs and things like that, that as a girl, I was going purely the classical route. It's just interesting how we kind of set ourselves up for this or have these expectations that, this is the proper thing to do, this is the way to do it, and if you try doing something else, don't, because you might be wrong. And that, honestly, as a perfectionist, that held me back for years and years.
Would you say that you were classically trained?
I was, yes.
Okay. Well, my experience of classically trained musicians is, you say to them, "Hey, let's improvise," and you can physically see the sweat dripping from their face. That's my limited experience. I'm not saying all classically trained musicians like that, but because of this fear of being wrong,
Yes, and going off the page, doing something that's not printed, that's not even possible. We can't do that. It's not on the page.
Yeah. But then you give a rock musician, or let's call them a folk musician. You give them a score. Then the sweat's dripping down their face. What's this? I don't understand. Nice.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's go from your memory of writing out, which I love that you did that, writing out Pippin's theme. So that plonks us around, what, 2002? 2001?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
So Pippin's theme, where did you go from there?
I wrote down all the themes. I played, when Pirates came out, all of that on my trumpet, because at the time I was playing trumpet before I played French horn. And so it was going around, I could play those on my instrument, but only for my friends. I'm not going to go out and try to do anything that wasn't on the page or wasn't written down by somebody else.
So wait a second. Trumpet, French horn, voice, and piano.
Yes, those are my main instruments.
Main instruments, wow. There we go. Okay, so yes, they are your main, but are they your favorite?
French horn, yes. I am a sucker for French horn parts. I will write French horn parts all day long. The problem is, especially in trailer music, we have to take that nice rounded tone and just scoop it out. So it's big and brassy. And I'm like, oh, my poor horn players. I know what this note is doing to them, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah. Make it cuivre, please. Yeah, I think that my first experience with recording horn players live, second experience, was I couldn't get them to make the trailer sound I was so used to.
Yes.
And they were producing this beautiful choral sound. And I was like, guys, come on. Like, it can't be soft. It needs to be flappy and gritty and nasty. And they're like, but it doesn't feel nice playing it like that.
That is very true. Plus, we write at the extremes of the registers, for that dramatic effect at the end, the build. It's got to be really up there. And I know what that does to the embouchure, but I'm still writing it.
Yeah. Do you ever record your parts?
No, I do not. For one thing, I honestly don't know how to record a French horn well, because they're so rounded and I don't have like a great studio environment to record in. I don't see it going well. It doesn't have the brassy tone, especially as a solo instrument.
What about in the warmer registers of the second act, when it's just kind of the choral nature coming in with the strings?
See, now that could totally work. I've never done it, but it could work.
Dude, do it. And also don't let the room stop you. Because that room sound might be the signature. Everyone goes, how does she get that brass sound?
Bouncing off the window.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. Nice. Okay, so at this point in time, you're sort of writing down all these themes, and you're working mostly with written music.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you at this point, and what was your desire to take? Did you want to take music further, or was it just sort of following the steps of, well, this is a good thing to do on the side of my school, you know?
I don't think I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't. I did well as a student. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go on being a student. So I was about preteens into teens, and I kept doing that. And I would get really frustrated watching the pianists in my teacher's studio around me that were male that would be doing like Super Mario and all these improvisational things and jazz. And I'm like, but I can't do that. You know, it frustrated me. But I was also scared to try anything different. Yeah, and it wasn't honestly, until I started as a vocal performance. Actually, I started as a music education major in college, got to conducting in bands, and had a bad experience with a teacher. It just frustrated me so much that I'm like, you know what? I'm done teaching music. I'm going to move on to performing music. And so I switched to becoming a vocal performance major. And after a breakdown after a recital, I finally let myself improvise on the piano. And it was a whole new experience for me. It was really, you know, it maybe seemed dark at the time, but it was incredibly powerful because I was finally writing emotionally whatever I wanted to play on the piano and not judging it. And so that was really my turning point. And from there, I graduated with vocal performance, but then I studied composition after that. And that was really my route.
Nice. I think it's a really interesting point where transcribed melodies and harmonies written as notation can sometimes, the study of it, be forgotten that it's a tool to communicate those initial emotions.
Yes, exactly.
You know, as beautiful as it looks, and as beautiful as it is when you see someone who can sight read something and give it emotion and give it life, that is, you know, astounding. But then you get trapped in the notes, don't you? And you start, you know, I used to study classical guitar. I wouldn't probably say not to the same level as you, but you know, when you're learning an instrument, you do sort of tend to beat yourself up about all the mistakes.
Absolutely.
Or should we say that same mistake I keep making in bar 35, you know? Bar 35. Because I used to see this when I was teaching kids, and when they suddenly realize that they could make their own music, this kind of glow appears, and it's a lovely thing. So what was that first improvisation like? You know, was it kind of like romantic, gestural, or was it, you know, Beatlesque ham fist, you know?
Well, it actually became an orchestral piece that the local symphony played in 2012. But it was simply me playing on the piano. I was like, you know what, this sounds good. And I think it was like A flat major, and I was new to composition and kept it mostly in A flat major, which wasn't great for some of the instruments and the strings necessarily. But it was really just this kind of piece ended up titling Hope. Because it was kind of that for me. It was experimenting with these sounds and these intervals. I'm very, very melodic in what I write. I don't enjoy writing classical modern music because it gets so far away from emotion into simply intellectual and what looks good on the page to me.
Do you mean like sort of 12-tone rows, serialism, that type of stuff?
Okay, exactly. Yeah. I feel that at that point, it's an exercise in intelligence within music. I don't know. I don't appreciate it. It doesn't resonate with me in the same way that something melodic does. And it's just simply, I think it's a language that we share more than sharing 12-tone.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if Schoenberg came on the radio, I'm not sure he'd bring me to tears in the same way that like the Band of Brothers theme would, you know.
Exactly. Oh, Michael came in on that.
Oh mate. In fact, I still sometimes show that to my kids. Kids, listen to this. This is great. They're like, Dad, this is so sad. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
but it's great, sad.
It's beautiful. Great. Okay, so you finally found that place where all of that studying suddenly made sense to you as a person.
Hmm.
and I think that's a wonderful thing. So what did you do with this then? So you started, obviously your first improvised piece was then performed by an orchestra. That's a rather unusual situation for most. Yeah. But what happened from then onwards? I'm steering us towards the direction of trailer music, of course.
Right. I started taking composition lessons with the orchestra teacher at my university because he saw something in that improvisation, and that's the whole reason that piece was played. And he saw things in my other work that I had done as part of music theory assignments, where you're given a bass line and you write a piece over it. So from that, it gave me the confidence to start pursuing music. So that was the last 2 years of my degree. I was a vocal performance major, but I was really just writing music as much as possible. And then I got into grad school for composition based on the pieces that I produced those past couple years.
Nice. Okay, so you've come from the heady academic world into trailer music.
Yes.
So I want to ask you this, and I'd like an honest answer. Have you found it's difficult to drop the criticisms of popular harmony and popular melody when approaching trailer music?
That is a great question. I think if I had perhaps been more or had spent more time in the world of academic composition, I would have. But even within that world, my teachers were like, okay, you have a great sense of melody, but your harmony is staying within these realms. And they were kind of trying to push me more and more to do these things that weren't my style of writing. So I think what I love about trailer music and all these chord progressions that we use over and over is the fact that we can all take the exact same chord progressions or similar chord progressions and create something entirely new out of it. Because we have that common language that these chord progressions evoke, but our statement within that is wholly new each time. And I love that.
What a great answer. Nice. Job done. Thanks for coming on the show. Yeah, no, that's excellent. The thing there is, I think most of my listeners will know that I'm a huge fan of limitations.
Yes.
And chord progressions are just another form of a limitation to allow that creativity to shine. And you're totally right, You can hear 10 composers writing 10 tracks in the same key, the same tempo, with the same chord sequence, and they sound different.
Yes.
And I've spoken to so many trailer composers, and we're all using the same gear. We've all got Damage, we've all got the Spitfire, we're all using the same horns, and yet theirs sound really dirty, and theirs sound clean and crisp and magical. It's lovely. So we're going from this academic world, which you didn't completely marry into, which is quite cool. So where did you go from there? Did you come out of uni and go, right, I'm officially a composer now? Bring it on, world.
I think I was a little bit more, I don't know if I was quite confident, but a little bit more. Yes, I'm a composer. And then I've gone through these periods of, am I a composer? This self-doubt that creeps in, am I really that? But I actually studied also film scoring at the time through Pacific Northwest, like their summer intensive program. And then I went down to LA for UCLA's film scoring program. But before that is actually when I met my husband, who is a trailer music composer. And he's the one that heard something in one of the works that I had sent him. We started talking about libraries, and I just had all these questions like, wait, trailer music, what is this? How does this work? It's like, I have no idea what this is. There's something else that's written for the trailer? And it was that conversation that led him to ask, would you like to pitch something? And so from that, it was kind of into the world of trailer music. He gave me like a brief. This is what it would be like. Try writing something like that. And because he helped me through that, he saw something in my writing. That's what led me into trailer music.
Nice. See, I think we've all had that one person who opened the door into the trailer music world, haven't we?
Right.
And there's probably some of you listening who are like, I've always known trailer music was a separate industry, but I didn't. I still thought it was the film composers for ages. And then you go, oh, wait, what? This is like a separate advertising industry. And having those people who show you the ropes, for me, a large part of it was Jason at Pusher. He really kind of showed me the ropes of like structures and how to make it sound huge, etc. like that. It sounded like your husband definitely opened the door at that point. So was it a case of you already had all the gear because of your studies, or?
No, not really. I had been writing in Finale, and honestly, I think that was, well, that's not true. I had a couple years where I bought like the Spitfire Albion 1, 2, and 3, and then I started like, oh, I need to buy sample libraries. And I think I bought like Cinebrass and things like that before I had started. So I had like a few tools, but I had no idea how to use them. And I have to say, coming from this classical background, did not help with production. I didn't have ears for production at all. I didn't know how to listen to production. I couldn't hear reverbs. I couldn't hear EQ. I didn't know what was happening. I was just listening to the music, and that took me a lot of time. And frankly, I'm still developing my production skills. I think it's a never-ending journey, but it was really interesting to come in and be like, wait, you can't just write the music and it sounds good. You have to do more to it.
Yeah, I know. I can't throw in 100 double basses and it sounds clean. What? Yeah, I think you're totally right. That is, certainly for me as well. Because I don't think that mixing is a separate thing. I think mixing and composition and mastering, they're all there at the same time. There's just certain levels of it at each point of the track's life. It's a constantly evolving thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And, as new libraries are produced, as new effects plugins are produced, the production of other people's work changes and yours has to kind of follow suit. And you kind of find out, well, how have you done this? It does seem, when you first get into music production, it seemed like the dark arts from Harry Potter. It was only these certain cool kids who knew how to mix and master tracks properly. It was always the ones who could produce beats as well,
Right. Skills that I didn't have or don't have.
Yeah. So how did you, how have you progressed yourself in that way? Is it a case of just listening and emulating, or?
Long, painful study, quite frankly. I didn't have the ears, and I had to train it in some capacities, and it's taken, frankly, years. And I would be sending, my husband stems, and he's like, you need to go back and you need to cut here. The reverb's not right on here. Try something like this. And then he was producing a lot of my work early because I didn't have it. And I think that that's a fantastic way for those who are starting out to get somebody to produce their work, especially if you're not comfortable with production. There is that element of creativity in production, but if it's something overwhelming, it's worth it to just focus on learning how to write the music first and then learn how to produce. Another one who has been great for ear training has actually been Joel Dolly. I don't know if you know him. He's a French. His course, it kind of opened up my ears and I was like, wait a second, I actually hear the difference. Let me play that again. And it was fantastic because I finally felt empowered to be able to do something rather than, okay, an EQ does this, but how do I use it for trailer music? I really had no idea of how the mids were building up, what kind of a reverb would work. I was kind of oversaturating things. My horns were just, resonances all over the place. And still, it's still a work in progress, but it's taken years of listening and frankly doing it. And that's the hardest part, to just start trying to do it. It doesn't mean, especially for me as a perfectionist, that it's going to be right away. But over time, that's going to keep building and those skills are going to keep getting better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned earlier on about this fighting self-doubt. Let's talk about that.
I apologize. I think if you hear a mower outside.
Hey, it's all part of the thing. It's the nice thing about recording interviews this time of night is my kids are asleep. So, well, at least in bed anyway. So let's talk about the self-doubt, because I think, and listeners, you're going to hear me hammer on more and more about this stuff because it's so important that we address it openly to and with each other, because there's nothing worse than feeling like you're the only one who thinks you're rubbish. No, I'm not saying that everyone thinks you're rubbish. I'm saying everyone thinks everyone is rubbish. We're all struggling with our own self-doubt. So have you encountered any tools that have been particularly useful for you?
It's going to be kind of perhaps not the norm, but some of the things that have really helped me with self-doubt was being thrown into situations that I didn't see coming, like the pandemic, quite frankly. Because suddenly everything was changing, what was happening to trailer music, were movies being produced, what do I do now? And there was this really impetuous that helped propel me to start doing more. So I started teaching on the side, which helped me kind of feel more comfortable with my skills. And wait, yes, I actually do know this stuff. So that was a big one. But the self-doubt, I think, honestly, another thing that has helped me so much is exercise. And that's because exercise lets my brain think about things and lets me feel all powerful, like I can get things done. Because when I'm just sitting at my desk, I start to go, wait, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I feel strong enough. And so something about exercise, as atypical as that is, just helps me think, you know what, I can do this. And that probably comes from the fact that my friend convinced me to do a half marathon in college, grad school, when I had never run before and I thought I hated running. So it was this really empowering experience of, you know what? I can do this a little bit of time, a little bit stronger each day. I can make it happen. And I think that's how it works with self-doubt too. We have to work at least I do every day. I'm like, should I be here? Should I be on this podcast? Should I be doing this track? Should I be writing for this? There's always that self-doubt, at least for me, that comes in. And I think it's trying to do it with the fear anyway.
Yeah, there's some great things in there. I would like to first of all say that thing like, should you be on the podcast? I'm saying thinking, should I be doing this podcast? Like it's totally there, for all of us.
Right.
And I think that's an excellent point. It's often the things that everyone says will help do help. Getting outside, meditating, sleeping, exercise, eating well, drinking water, hanging out with your buddies. There is a huge correlation between high achievers and marathons. And I've had a ton of podcasts with this is my scientific evidence for this, by the way. A ton of podcasts, read a load of books about it where, it's CEOs or serial entrepreneurs and they're all obsessed with marathons, ultra marathons, Ironmans, whatever it is, because of that very thing you said. In their business world, they will reach a point where they go, I'm not sure I can take this any further. But then you have this other world of running or whatever it is, kayaking, where you say, you proved yourself, well, I didn't think I could do 10K and I did 12 yesterday. So I just need to persevere.
Right.
So I think that's like excellent advice. Also, getting out of the house, it's like a double whammy, especially if you're running outside, triple whammy. I also think it's really important what you say about doing other things that are either A, out of your comfort zone, or B, unexpected. Because it's kind of like the creative spanner in the works, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that works for you creatively, those types of things, where it's, like you say, teaching during the pandemic?
How does it work as in?
For you, because obviously this is a personal answer to this question. It's not going to be like, this is how it works in my brain. So, I know that me doing different things helps me see the same things in a new light. That type of thing. How did the teaching help you?
Yeah, I think what it did is it forced me to realize just how much I do actually know, or think that I know. Anyway, so as I'm teaching these things, it's like, wait, the more I think you can explain or convey something to somebody else, the clearer it becomes in your mind, whether that's teaching voice, that's teaching piano, that's teaching composition, anything where I can explain, well, why does it work this way? That helps me realize that A, I know that, and B, oh yeah, that actually does make sense, and I can do this. It just is, it's the cycle that makes you realize I do know something, I have value, I can share that value with others and lift others up at the same time.
Nice. Yeah, totally true. Totally true. I think it's also really lovely, isn't it, when you're teaching something, you get that feeling of, like you say, oh, this person is actually getting something out of what I didn't consider was a vat of knowledge. I considered myself semi-worthless. But now this person is here growing from something, and all of a sudden it kind of clicks, doesn't it? You know, they say you're able to teach as long as the person you're teaching is like just one step below, you know, or one step behind is probably the nicer way to say it. But so let's go dark, Katie. I'm always like talking about the lower end of our emotional spectrum because, again, like I said, I think it's really important for us to talk about mental health. So in this time, sort of in your musical journey thus far, when has been your, I don't want to say most dark, but most difficult time, and why?
That's a great question. I think I've had a lot of them, actually, if I think about it. You know, there was that in college where I was going through I was very much like the loner. I helped everybody, you know, with their essays and achievements far too much. But then I was always off by myself and not really part of a group. And so there was this whole, you know, that darkness fermenting there that ended up coming out on the piano, which led me to composition. So I have to be grateful for that time. But even in terms of writing music later on, there's always been this. There have been moments where I question, you know, can I do this? Or something comes up in life that prevents me from doing it. And I think that actually the pandemic was a great incentive for me to realize how much I value what I'm doing and how much I really want to write music for a living in any way I can. And how can I make that possible? So those moments where things hit that you're not expecting, it really, I think, forces us as creatives to just think about, well, what can I do? What is the route here? How can we make this work somehow? But there's still that very emotional time that you have to go through and have to be able to process as well. And that takes time and self-care, like we're talking about, you know, whether that's whether that's exercise, diet, all of that is great. But then sometimes I think just playing for yourself musically, getting it out, releasing that is so important because otherwise you're just building that in. And I think that's honestly, I'm a very different person from who I was as a teenager because I was so focused on doing exactly what's right, making sure that I'm playing exactly what's on the page. And I feel so much better about myself now that I feel confident expressing myself emotionally and creatively. I'm making up words here. But that all came about because of these dark moments that hit us in life.
So you've rounded it off beautifully because you know, I think it's so important for us to kind of realize that actually our tendencies towards emotion are kind of our superpowers, because our inability to deal with those has meant that we have gone, okay, well, where am I supposed to send all this stuff? I'll send some of it to my lower back and the rest of it to the guitar, the rest of it to the piano, that type of stuff. I think you're totally right. It's so important for us in our journey. You can look back and see like, oh, I can see that me needing that time by myself meant that I practiced and meant that I honed my skills that then were later on useful.
Right.
Yeah, I think that stuff's so important. Is there anything when you talk about self-care, is there anything specific that leaps out to you? You've said exercise is one, you know. Is there anything else specific that has helped you out of this?
I think for me, it depends on the time. Writing, journaling, that kind of thing where I'm just getting everything out, all of my feelings. So I think it really hinges for me on emotional release and catharsis in some way, whether that's writing, whether that's playing music. It's all It's all dealing with what's in front of us instead of just setting it to the side and pretending it's not there.
I love that you said journaling. I love it. Everyone needs to be journaling more. You know,
Yes.
I haven't been able, haven't been able to do this since our kids arrived, because obviously they usually wake us up before. But my wife and I used to do the morning pages from Julia Cameron's The Artist Way. That's, for those who don't know, that's sort of 3 A4 sides or American letter-sized pages of just venting. You wake up and you vent, pretty much. Just let whatever comes out. Venting sounds negative. It's not always negative. Sometimes you're just saying, oh yeah, sunny outside, this, that, and the other. And it was that process of just unloading onto the page was so helpful. Really good. So yeah, big up for journaling. There's also this idea, I just love writing as well, because it's that thing, you can take it not just as emotional support, but also like an administrative support too, to-do lists, planners, journals.
And I think there's no reason they can't be combined with one of my journals here. This is more like a career / to-do list / things I'm aiming for. So it's like a combination of things that I would like to achieve plus things that I actually need to do. It's everything is in here, plus just daily life tasks. And I think it honestly helps focus me in every moment in a way that if I didn't have that written down, wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, totally. I've got mine here too. My it's like doodle, to-dos, journal. Yeah, so useful. Especially when you sat there and there's like I find the doodling when I'm listening back to tracks, because if I look at the screen when I'm listening, I listen differently. Whereas because I'm not actually listening, there's an expectation. I see there's a region coming. I see the automation. I'm seeing what I should be paying attention to. And sometimes you miss things. So there was I can't remember who it was who advised about switching your monitor off, your computer screen off when you're listening. Just, like when you go to a mastering studio, there's no screen. It's just tons of gear and speakers and a really comfy chair. Lovely. Okay, well, see, awesome advice. Exercising to kind of help push you, journaling and creating. I loved what you said about if you don't write, you kind of get pent up. And I say write music here. I find that if I haven't written music for a week, I start to get like, and then you just sit down and go, A minus, C, F, G, done. Yeah, great stuff. Okay. I've forgotten what I was going to say now. There we go. So we've gone from this. You've taken these tools to kind of help you through the downs that naturally come. What's the highest moment? What's the thing you have been most proud of so far?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't know if the fact that I need to think about it is good or not.
Well, the thing is, like, you can be proud of lots of things for different reasons. So I do appreciate, so like I could say I was proud the first time I heard an orchestra play my music. I wouldn't say that was the most proud, but that's pretty special, as you know, I'm sure.
It is. Unless then, of course, they're not playing at your tempo and then something is going wrong. No, it's still a wonderful moment.
Guys, you're all flat. You're all terribly flat. Let's go again. Yeah.
That's definitely a huge one. Hearing your music played live it's an incredible experience. Even if they're getting the tempos wrong or if they're not quite together, it's still just something where your music is coming to life in a way that doesn't happen. I mean, in my DAW, everybody's perfectly in tune and they're coming in when they should and they're playing with the dynamics they should. It doesn't quite happen in real life, but there's something about that live performance that you can't really replicate it in the same way. So that's definitely a big one. I've had a couple of pieces played live. So that's been really fun. Placements, most of the music that I do write, for trailer music is always co-written with my husband. Whether it's I start the track or he starts the track, we come in together and we write these tracks. But getting to see that, I think the first time that you see a placement, you're like, wait a second, that's my music in there. I hear that. That's really an exciting moment. At the same time, I think some of my most exciting moments have been when I realized that suddenly, you know what, I can do some of this production thing. I can actually make this happen. Or I'm playing around on a violin, which is not my main instrument, and I'm just playing around on it. But I'm like, you know what, this is really fun. I'm letting myself be creative on this instrument, regardless of my skill level, in a way that I wouldn't have as a child or if I had been learning that instrument traditionally growing up. So I think overall my proudest moment, if I can circle back to actually having a topic here, would be what I've become over time. I'm proud of the journey that I've gone on and how much better I feel about myself, about my creativity, just having gone through this and challenged myself to try things and do things and be creative and be okay being creative and improvising, especially.
Again, nice answer.
I'm not sure they entirely make sense always.
Yeah. Well, no. It's like you're giving me really well-rounded answers. It's great. So what I'm going to say here is it's really nice to be able to say that. Really nice to say, actually, I'm proud of myself. That's quite a beautiful moment, an aspirational one for some, I think. So yeah.
And I think that's important, is to find something. I tell students and anybody I can, find something that you're proud of and own it. It's so important, I think, especially I have, like female composition students who do, I think, who struggle with improvising and that kind of thing. And so I'm really vocal about, you know what, you did great on this. You should really take some time to recognize what you've done and what you've achieved through this.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. I think I'm going to take that for myself. Honestly, it's very, very easy to just go through the motions and forget to say well done to yourself, because no one else really says it. Yeah.
Right.
My wife and kids say it occasionally, or my wife says it a lot, but my kids occasionally say it. But other than that, no one kind of, yes. Actually, I say that, but you messaged me on Instagram saying thank you for my work. So actually, that was lovely. So yeah, it's, some people do say thank you, but it's really nice to say thanks to yourself and say well done. And I think that's a really important, actually, it's a really good journaling exercise too.
It is. It is. I think focusing on what you've achieved or something positive. I mean, I think we should absolutely journal whatever we need to get our feelings out, but focusing on positives, I think it can only help us. And whether it's achievements, whether it's something you'd like to accomplish, things you're grateful for, gratitude is a huge one that really helps refocus me when I'm struggling. Taking some time to think, I'm grateful that I had, it can be simple, this meal today or something really simple. It just really helps.
Have you ever noticed a correlation between when you do gratitude for an extended period of time and good things happening?
I think it's absolutely there. I do. I think the more we put ourselves out there in a positive way, and this is why I think you cannot over encourage and over help people. I don't think it's possible. I think it's just a way of lifting others up. And it's so important to spread that joy and to spread the cheer and the achievement. We need that as humanity. But I do think that probably comes back to us in many ways too. It helps, it makes us feel better for doing such a thing to begin with. But it's just a cycle that's only a good thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, let's start cheering for ourselves and each other. Yay. The thing is, it's totally right, and true. When we start to notice the good things start to happen more. And then we see more of them and they happen more. And the same with, when we start to notice and give attention to others good things, the same thing happens. And then you start to know small things happening. And yeah, it's like, is it Pay It Forward, that film? That idea of being kind to one another. The thing is, that stuff sounds really cliched, like exercising and meditating.
Right.
But it's cliched for a reason. And I think, especially if you've had a hard day where you've spent your day writing a track, and perhaps you've had some not great feedback from a publisher, that can be pretty devastating.
Yeah.
So taking your advice there and going do some gratitude. Go for a run, do some gratitude. Done.
But I think it's even more crucial in anything creative to really care for yourself in this way, especially in the trailer music world. We're so isolated. We're in our own little spaces. We're not really communicating with the outside world or with each other. We're not in a studio where we're sharing our work so much with other people. The publisher, but we just don't get that feedback. We don't get that. We don't get feedback in general, send a track off and you never hear back, that kind of thing. But when we do we don't get it. So I think we need to provide it for ourselves as much as we can for our own mental health.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And especially when you're going through dry spells of no placements, because they come for all of us, and having had lots of placements doesn't preclude you from having a panic attack when you've had 2 months of no placements, or 3 months, whatever it is, 6 months, 12 months, whatever, So I think these exercises are so important to kind of keep you afloat. That sounds really dreadful. Keep you on a positive light and keep you just doing the important things like your work and enjoying your life.
Right. And I think that's crucial to really think about, are you doing what you love? I mean, I know that this isn't an easy choice for many people. But if we get one chance at life, making the most of it, whether that's as a vocation or whether it's as a hobby, really doing what you love and enjoying every moment of it, which is why that positive psychology is so important, so that you can be at your best for whatever that time is that you get to invest in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I think, I don't know about you. I've had that drummed into me since I was quite young by my mum about doing the things that you love. She was a big fan of Joseph Campbell and always talked about his, follow your bliss. I think that's the way he used to say it. So that's kind of what I've done. There is one side of that which I'd like to raise, which is when you love doing your work, it's very hard to stop doing your work because you love it too much and I'm having a great time. Who cares if I've done like 12, 14-hour days? That's the tricky part of the whole, do what you love with clear boundaries in place.
Right, right. And those boundaries are so hard to set because we're like, no, I can get this done if I just keep going, or I'm having a great time. Especially when we do have that creative moment, we don't want to let go. And then if something interrupts, it feels like the whole world is falling out beneath you because now you've lost your creative moment. But when we're on that and it is uninterrupted, it's so hard to set boundaries. I will say that even for workouts, for meditation, for gratitude, all of that, having a clear routine makes it a lot easier than saying, I'll get to it when I get to it.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, that's the thing, isn't it? As you say about as trailer composers, well, I think most composers were all very solitary. So we are relying on ourselves to be the entire team, not just musically, but also be our own HR department where we come in and say, that's quite enough work for today. You need to go home. I know you're almost finished your third act, but let's go, and that's very difficult. And especially if, you're tired or, things aren't going quite right, it's very difficult to keep that balance. Have you found any tips or tricks that have been helpful for you to kind of keep those boundaries in place?
I think I'm still working at it. A couple weeks ago, I was doing more than I should have done because a deadline got moved up. So I was not doing great at the self-care and the exercise, and it was just whatever I could grab to eat at that period of time. So now I'm like intentionally trying to reset. So I don't know that I have any tips and tricks aside from schedule it in your day and put it on a checklist so you can check it off. So satisfying.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's a really simple one. I had a really, this one's hard to follow, but I aspire to the methods of it. It was, what was his name? Michael Hyatt. He talks about, he sort of specializes himself in productivity. And he talks about only having 3 things on your to-do list each day. Because 3 things are totally achievable.
Mm.
The issue, he got deep into it when he started talking about, well, how big 3 things, could I just sort of come up with my chord sequence and then send an email and then do this? But I think he means like relatively sizable 3 things that are totally doable. And I aspire to that, where it's like you finish the work and you say, well, I finished the work. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to stop now and have some time off. That's the dream.
That's a really interesting idea. And I'm looking at my list right now with far more than 3 things on it. And I think actually the 3 things is brilliant because it keeps me from going, I haven't done enough today. I need to keep doing more. I need to get more things checked off my list. I was going to do that yesterday and I didn't. So now I need to do it today. And then we're adding pressure to ourselves that doesn't help anything.
No, I think he talked about that, the effect on his team, sort of moving their to-do lists to just sort of 3 things. It lifted their spirits because they were achieving their work. They were on top of their work. The stress levels were gone. Everyone was enjoying it. And then all of a sudden they were just much more productive. So, yeah.
So I think what I need to do is start a new list of these are the 3 things I'm choosing from my other list of possible tasks.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, there is that. There's the, is it Stephen Covey's grid? I think that's where it's from. The important and urgent grid. Which I think that is an excellent way to decide what 3 things, I've done that before, and that's, I have done that quite regularly, the importance urgency grid, especially when you do a to-do list that's like 30 things and you go, oh, how am I going to do any of this?
Then you can't do a single one.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I think we should finish off with a little quick fire round, because I like the quick fire rounds. I'll do a couple of wild cards in today as well. Okay, so I like finding out about what gear everyone's using, just because I often I heard a couple of ones the other day that I haven't heard of before, so I'm going to go check those out. Right, Katie, what is your DAW of choice?
I'm Cubase now, though I was Pro Tools for years and years.
Wow. Okay, Cubase team. Hey. Okay, so what is your go-to piano sound?
Actually, Addictive Keys, but that's never my final sound. That's the one I write in.
Okay, what's the final sound? I'm curious.
It depends on, I think Audio Imperia, not Audio Imperia. Is it them? I'm going to have to open up a session and check.
You don't have to, don't worry. We'll go with Addictive Keys. There we go. Yeah. Because I have Alicia's keys that I pretty much do everything in.
See, I know that's my husband. Everything is Alicia's keys. And then I open it up and I'm like, it doesn't sound anything like what you're doing. How are you doing that?
Yeah. The thing is, it's just such a wonderful piano because it doesn't have the kind of tacky brightness of a lot of the grand pianos.
Right.
But it's shiny enough to not be a felt piano. It's great. Yeah. Although I do love every single felt piano under the sun. Okay. So go to string library. In fact, let's go to string library for shorts first.
Ooh, for shorts, Metropolis Arc.
Yep, classic. Okay,
Yeah.
for longs.
Right now it'd be split between Jaeger and Performance Samples Vista. Vista has this nice, rich, dark tone to it that I've been having a lot of fun with.
See, there we go. I'm going to write that down. Not heard of that one. Performance samples. Oh, so they did Oceana, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Performance, there we go. Which is awesome. Vista. Okay, go to brass library.
Combination of Trailer Brass, Cinebrass Pro, and is it Audio Imperia? There's this Trailer Brass octave patch that I use on my low brass no matter what. And I cannot remember which library it is in.
We'll say Audio Imperia. They're getting some plugging, whatever this is.
Right.
And go to hits library.
That's the one that always stumps me the most, and I have to go through all the samples. So I don't know if I have a go-to library or if I just end up going through samples endlessly.
Okay, well, let's shift it. Should we widen the umbrella to go to percussion library?
Percussion. Probably it depends on if it's a rhythmic part, and I'm going for something like, oh my goodness, I'm blanking. I'm seeing I'm holding my hands, visualizing what it looks like on contact.
A very small cardboard box.
Yeah, something like that. Oh my goodness. I really should have prepared my answers because this is when everything flies out of my brain and I can see it and I can't say it.
Okay, say the color. What color is it?
It's blue. It's blue.
Storm drum. No.
No, but close.
It's an old library, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, I have this one as well. I want to say
because it's playable, but it also has
big hits.
Yes,
big sort of grand cassas smacking themselves.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Oh, that's going to annoy me so much. Okay, we're going to circle back to that. Okay, so I think that's because that was a good library. I haven't used that one for years actually. But that had some really lovely big hits in it, as well as sort of usable toms and taikos and things, isn't it?
Right.
Okay. I'm not going to ask. I know. I'm sorry, woodwinds. We just don't use you enough to worry about.
It's true. Poor woodwinds.
We chuck the woodwinds occasionally when it's quite an uplifting track, but even then, I get told to take the woodwinds out, which always saddens me. I'm saying, but they're playing such beautiful arpeggios. So we'll have to skip the woodwinds. Okay, top 3 effects plugins. This one's a tricky one, but
ooh, effects as in creative rather than producing and mixing.
Your choice.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to say FabFilter EQ Pro Q3. I cannot live without that for resonances and just in general. Definitely number 1. Let's see. After that, it's gonna depend. I think when I switched from Pro Tools to Cubase, which is about a year ago, some of my plugins and plugins of choice switched too because not everything was compatible with Cubase. So I don't know that I've found quite some of the same things. Are you familiar with Endless Smile?
No, but it sounds awesome.
These guys, they also did one called Sausage Fattener, and it's like this really gritty thing. It's an endless, I know. It's so fun. The plugin has this little face. It starts from no smile and then goes broader and broader and broader smile. So these are just really fun for like creative. Endless Smile adds that high end.
Oh, nice. Like Waves. Oh, which plugin is that? It's got gives it a really nice shimmer on the top.
Right. Oh, speaking of shimmer, Valhalla reverbs are fantastic. The shimmer or the built-in one, I know it's not the same as, throwing in Bricasti or something like that, but Valhalla is great.
I still use Logic's built-in reverbs a lot just because, I feel like they need to be given love. But yeah, I've only got Supermassive.
That's a fun one.
Oh, mate, I love that one. For making homemade pads, that is just perfect.
Right.
It's the business. Okay, go-to plugins. Oh, wildcard. Your go-to chord progression for epic orchestral.
Oh, I'm tempted to turn to my piano here.
I'll give you 2 if you want.
Well, it's got to drop from minor 1, so let's say C minor to A flat major. It's got to. It's got to do that. And then from there, it's probably going to end up on the 5.
Oh, okay.
So what's going to be before the 5? That's the question.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So
right. Standard. Probably. So it could be, C minor, maybe A flat major. We could go F minor and then G minor. I keep it minor instead of major at the end.
And then the second iteration of the chord sequence, that's when you turn in the major.
Yeah.
With a cheeky 9th chord. Hello. Okay, that's good. Okay, that's 1. Let's say we're in a major key. Go to progression.
1, 4. You've got to go straight to 4 if you're going kind of hopeful.
That's it. And
then you got to do something minor. Exactly, just 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4.
1, 4. Yeah.
Then you've got to go to minor. You have to go to minor. So let's say 1, 4, probably minor 2, maybe minor 6.
Minor 2.
You could. So let's say C major, F major, and then D minor, kind of throwing it up before going to G.
Okay, I see. I mean, I'm interested why you've got to throw in a minor. Why do you have to throw in a minor?
Because how else will you know it's major enough?
Well, that was a weird question. Great. No, the thing is, that's the first time I've asked about chord progressions, but I'm going to do it more. Because
you should. I don't think I've ever thought about it. I just play things.
Because we'll all find out we naturally, in a minor key, play exactly the same chord sequences. We all go C minor, A flat. Let's just say it
true.
now. I mean, I still hear full feature trailer cues landing with just minor 1 and 6, or flat and 6. Yeah, because it just sounds awesome.
It's all you need.
Yeah. To be fair, if I was going to choose a 2 chord progression in minor, it would be 1 6. In a major, it would be 1 4. I'd be happy.
That's all. That's all you need. You get the flavor and a little bit of hope in both of those.
Exactly, and a little bit of mystery especially in the 1 6. Because you can do all sorts of cheeky changes within those chords anyway. But Katie, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much, and I do appreciate you taking the time to chat. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been really fun to get to talk about trailer music, and I hope what I've said is somewhat cohesive. I have a tendency to make up words unintentionally. I'd like to think my brain is running faster than my mouth, but who knows what it actually is.
From my recollection, you've only made up 1 word on the call.
Oh, good.
So
that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good. And hopefully someone's going to message in telling us what that library is, because it's going to annoy me.
I'm going to have to go open a session.
In fact, I think we should. I'm just going to have a look now, because it's just going to irritate me horrendous amounts. What was it called? It's, Blue videos. Sorry, this is.
Actually, if I just open my sample drive.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm doing. Going to my sample drive. And then I'm like, oh no, it's all in alphabetical order. How am I supposed to know which one it is? No. Oh, it's not Storm Drum.
Strike Force.
Strike Force.
Got it.
There we go.
Closure.
Exactly. And that's where we end the show. Thank you very much, everyone, for taking the time to listen. Thank you, Katie, for coming on the show. And I will see you guys in the next episode of the Trailer Music Composers Podcast.